Dr. Ron Paul, Congressman Paul from Texas. Congressman Paul, you must be a proud dad right now.
Very much so. We were very pleased how it turned out in Kentucky. Thank you.
Are you surprised?
A little bit. Toward the end we knew what was happening. The polls were pretty accurate. But when he first started, he'd never run for anything before. So I wasn't all that optimistic, and like I've already been quoted, you don't like to see anybody put a lot of energy into something, especially your son, and then come up, way behind. But I didn't have any reason to worry. I shouldn't have had any reason to worry because he did so well.
I had a chance to meet him and you during the campaign when you were running for president, and he was very instrumental in your campaign, so I guess he got his political legs there, didn't he?
Yeah, and he was very much involved in the early years, too, in teenagers and college years, and even in the presidential campaign, that he had a particular interest in it. And I kid when I say, well, what did you learn by being in my campaign? He says, well, I've learned all the things not to do. Hopefully it wasn't all that way.
Where do you and he part company on any major issues? Is he very much where you are on major issues of the day?
I would say on the major issues we're very close, but I think his tone is different. I think his approach is a little bit different. I think he's, a little bit more into legislating and working things out, and I've been more into the philosophic end of things. So I think the approach is slightly different and the wording is slightly different. But if it comes, like the Federal Reserve, he's not going to come on and say, well, I love the Fed, and I don't think it should be audited, or I love the income tax, we should raise taxes. No, nothing major is going to be different. No.
So you would say that, he is probably a libertarian Republican, much as you are, versus one who might follow the party line on a lot of issues.
Yeah, I think so, but he answers that question almost like I do. Am I a libertarian? I said, well, I take my oath of office seriously, and I believe in personal liberty, but I happen to believe the founders were libertarians, because they didn't want to regulate the market, nor did they want to regulate personal lifestyles, and they had a non-interventionist foreign policy. So that's libertarianism, and I think the people who want to use that word usually want to use that to make us look negative, but it's getting to the point where believing in liberty is not necessarily a negative anymore, and right. I think we've made some progress.
Well, people need to be reminded, you were the Libertarian Party candidate for president right. Back in, was it 84?
It was 88.
88.
I could hardly deny my associations with libertarianism.
That's right. Let me ask you about, as you know, there's already been a controversy about a position he took when interviewed by the Louisville Courier-Journal, or Journal-Courier, I should say, about this, and it's a philosophical debate about the 1964 right. Civil Rights Act, the part that bans discrimination in private businesses. I understand the difference between public and private. I also understand that this is not a matter of being, he's very clear, he's not a racist, he would have marched with Martin Luther King. I don't want to in any way, shape, or form suggest that there's any racism here in this philosophical debate.
Right.
But,
okay, that's nice.
But it is a philosophical debate, and perhaps you can characterize it your way, but there is a lot of controversy about the idea that we should allow private businesses, if he had his way, to, and then perhaps your way as well, to allow discrimination. For example, allow only blacks to sit at lunch, or whites to sit at lunch counters, and deny blacks.
Yeah. But, don't you think they've resurrected this? That was settled in 1960 before he went to grade school.
Correct.
To bring this up and being the big issue when the issue of the days is, financial crises and war going on. So this, to me, seems disingenuous to have him hit. But at least you had the courtesy to say that there's no racism involved.
Right.
And I absolutely hate it. It is philosophic, and the position is really, he's actually taken a position very close to Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King wanted to repeal laws. He believed in boycotts. He believed in peaceful disobedience. Those are the things that libertarians believe in. And property rights, we do see property, but we don't distinguish between your house and your business. That's all private property. How do you draw these lines? If you want your personal privacy protected, if you want your religious protection, if you want your choices on sexual activities protected, that means your house has to be sacred. But you say, oh yes, but it's unfair, it's unfair. But think of all the unfair things and the ugly things that come out of the First Amendment. But to me, it's a moot point. I thought the great people in the 50s and the 60s were people like Branch Rickey and Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how real integration occurred. But where did the real segregation come? From government. Government endorsed slavery. Government endorsed the segregation law. Governments endorsed... How long did the government have segregation of the armed forces? Up until the World War II. So to say that we who defend private property are labeled racist, I think that's... and you didn't.
I want to be very clear about that. I'm
others,
not... Yeah.
You didn't do it. But I think that recognizing private property and the role of government in segregation is what we're trying to make a point. But once again, this wasn't the prevailing issue in the campaign in Kentucky, and it's not going to be because it's been settled. Economic power is wonderful. Because who would say, let's say I believed in this and I want to prove this point and I want to put a sign up, I'm only going to serve such and such. That would be stupid. Wouldn't it be stupid business? I mean, that's all past. It's all done. To make this an issue, I think, is very, very unfair. And of course, others have jumped on it. And I don't mind you bringing it up because you've always been very fair and above board on issues like this.
Well, it is an issue, at least in this particular news cycle. So I'd be remiss if I did not bring it up.
Yeah, right.
But by the way, there still is a segregation in the military in terms of don't ask, don't tell.